It's time now for the best hour in MMA and combat sports, the Boomtown Pod. Join your hosts Andrew Kahn and Cole Smith as they break down the latest cards, the biggest news, and so much more. Now it's time for the Boomtown Pod.
Why, yes, it is. It is another edition of the Boomtown Pod, all things MMA. I am your host, Andrew Kahn, of course, joined once again with my co-host, Cole Sandman Smith. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. How are you?
Each week, I'm going to try to do Sandman a little different than the previous. But you can only do it so many ways, so many times. But nonetheless, you're looking at I do believe it's the Regina Boxing Association heavyweight champion of the world. Not a big deal.
It was super heavyweight.
Yeah, at 220 pounds. The crazy thing is, I was telling my buddy about this the other day. I was like, yeah, my friend won the title. He's 220 pounds. I'm 230 now. I'm like, that makes me like a super heavyweight. So, I mean, congratulations again, buddy, which is pretty awesome. Once again, we are, of course, the Boomtown Pod, your home for all things MMA and combat sports. Man, check down below because these are our show sponsors. Couldn't do it without them. Blue Collar Media Group, the mothership who's been riding with us since day one. Thank you so much. Stellar Gear, of course, staying in the crew out in Saskatoon at the 8th Street Mall. Those guys, man, honestly, I've worked for them. They've been with us forever. They have been in Charmaine Tweet's corner. They've been through Mitch Clark's corner. You name it. If you're from Saskatchewan, you know what Stellar Gear is all about. If you want to get some of their Stellar Gear original shirts, stellargear.ca/theboomtown10, you get 10% off of your order, which is awesome. And of course, the fine folks over at Sandman Boxing System sitting directly across from me, which is absolutely awesome. Their crew has been, you guys have been busy, man. Fill us in.
Busy. Yeah, we've been moving, we've been traveling, we've been competing, we've been trying to do fundraisers, you know, every month, bottle drives, giveaways. We got a giveaway going on right now, so we're trying to raise some money just for travel and hotels and stuff. So a friend of mine, he does custom rugs. So we got a draw going on to raise some money. There's only 3 spots left. So we're doing the draw probably in the next couple days. But yeah, we've been busy. A lot of fights, a lot of traveling. It's been fun.
Yeah, you guys' camps have been wild. Every time I check something, I'm like, I got to make sure Cole fits in on this day or particularly this day, because if I don't get him either or, the dude's just packed.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is awesome. But of course, it's been a couple of weeks since we've been able to do a podcast. We talked to each other. We're like, we really got to do one. So today was the day to do one. So just so you know, we're always behind the scenes. We're always talking about stuff on way to make the podcast better. And of course, that's what we're doing. Instead of the week that was, this is the weeks that were. And it's sponsored by the Blue Collar Media Group. Now getting right into it, a couple of weeks ago, we saw a great, interesting matchup between Jan Blachowicz, the former UFC champion, taking on Alexander Rakic, who has been just on a tear of beating everybody. Speaking of tears, an unfortunate end to this one as it looked real bad, and it seems that he has torn his ACL and his MCL for Alexander Rakic. So that looks like he's going to be on the shelf for at least a full year. And he looked good. At parts of this fight, he looked really, really good. And it's unfortunate that we got the result we had. What did you think of that fight, Cole?
I mean, like, it sucks seeing that, you know, especially because of how back and forth it was. You know, it was kind of Jan kind of took control early, but then coming on the second, it kind of went the other way. So kind of going around, in my eyes, it was a round apiece going into that third, and so it sucks when that happens.
Yeah, I definitely had it around a piece as well, and it really, really sucked. I thought it was really unfortunate because I thought, on those fight nights, sometimes they're not the greatest of fight cards, and that one there was some other bangers on that fight card as well. But Jan Blachowicz, I've been just really, really, really rooting for this guy since he's been in the UFC, and I was hoping that you take that one next step because I think he's still. I have him as the number one contender in this division still, especially after beating Rakic. I mean, I thought if Rakic did beat Jan, it was immediate title shot for Rakic,
Right.
and I think this was a big title fight implication kind of fight. Yeah, I mean, Jan looked good at times. Rakic's striking was superb. I mean, his kicks were good. His counter punches were flush. They were very, very fluent. He looked very accurate. And of course, Jan's just such a big body, man. And I think his wrestling is going to be so hard for anybody in that division. Do you see him getting a title match against the winner of Yuri and, of course, our boy Glover?
I mean, I hope so. It would be cool for him to get another opportunity. I feel like, if Glover pulls it off, that'd be I think he wants one more fight, right? Is what he was saying this year. And then he's gonna kind of hang it up. And that'd be a cool way to end it. Is that rematch with Jan? So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I was kind of blown away by that retirement announcement. Obviously, if you guys follow our socials, we were on top of pretty much everything the day that it gets released, or this at least a couple hours or minutes before it gets, real dropped. But yeah, nonetheless, it's Glover Teixeira's final encore, if you will, through 2022. I mean, this man, if you're literally 40, if you're 30, if you're 27, 26, and you're thinking about getting into a new sport, this man has to be one of those people that you can idolize. The man went on highs and lows throughout his fighting career, and in the last little while, it is just a murderer's row of the people that he has beaten. And if you don't know, check it. Go on SureDog, check out his stats because it's absolutely unbelievable. 6 fights in a row, including some of the hardest competition you'll ever find in that division. And he's doing it at 43 years old. So never tell yourself you can't do it because this man is a walking definition of I can. And I think, Cole, you would pretty much agree with that statement.
Yeah, I've always been a big Glover fan. Ever since he's been, I'm like, this guy he's gonna be champion one day. And he always just came up short. Just he'd get there and then lose to the best, get there, lose to the best. But now, like you said, he's been on a streak, and he's like making it look kind of easy too. He's just implementing his game, getting in close with the striking, taking him down, taking him out. And if they're not getting taken out, he's doing 10-8 rounds every round. He's beating people down and not making it look tough at all. So it's really, really cool.
My dad and I were talking about it. It's like he doesn't even break a sweat.
Right.
It's crazy because his jiu-jitsu is out of this world good. He's obviously a black belt for a reason. And it just seems guys are so timid. At 43 years old, he'd be like, hey, if I hit him hard enough, he's probably going to fold. And every guy has tried. But the second you do, he just sneaks in there. He pushes up against a clinch, gets you to the ground, and it's hell. It's literal hell for whoever has to deal with him. So, you know what? Caps off to Mr. Teixeira. I am really looking forward to seeing his upcoming fight with, of course, for the title, which will be great. Nonetheless, a fight that wasn't so great in a lot of people's eyes, and I have to agree with this one. Holly Holm taking on Caitlyn Vieira. Honestly, snoozer. And I'm not trying to discredit both of the women who tried to put on a plus caliber fight because they were literally the only fight on the card that really stuck out to anyone. It was a weaker card, and I went, okay, I get it. Holly Holm should have won this fight. All things going statistic-wise, she won the fight. She was the busier fighter. Did things, I thought, a little more than Vieira. I thought she pushed the pace. I thought she dictated it a little bit more, too. And then we got the result, and Caitlyn Vieira won it, and it was really, really close split decision, 49-48. Honestly, man, the people who really lost were us, the fans that expected, Holly Holm to have that killer instinct. And it just seems in the last 5 years, ever since I want to say the Ronda win obviously is the cap of her career, but ever since then, it's been a fluctuation of up, down, up, down, up, down, goes on a run, loses a big fight, wins a couple big fights, loses a small fight. Like, I'm not saying Caitlyn Vieira is a small fight, but in the caliber of who she's faced, she is a smaller fighter. So I don't know, man. Are we done with Holly Holm?
I think so. I mean, even watching her, it's very strange, like it's like she can't find her distance too, which I find is really weird. Like she's always punching the air. It's hard, when you watch her fight right now, it would be hard to convince somebody that she was a like a high level boxer at one point, because watching her hands and like how she seems like she can't find range, and then she's always like just back. It's just like, I don't know. It's definitely not what she used to be, and it's actually tough to watch, to be honest.
And you would agree with this. You do shadow boxing in your classes all the time, and I know that because I participated in them. But I know first and foremost, it just seems like she emulates that exact same shadow boxing movement to the ring. Well, it's very counterproductive because not only are you gassing your own chamber, I mean, you're not helping yourself. You're not landing anything. And all these fighters that have fought her now in the last 5 years know what her repertoire is. She's got good hands. When she lands, it does do damage. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, it's not, I think she lacks the killer instinct that she's had for so long. And you alluded to it, even in her boxing career. This girl's a Golden Glove boxer. So it's no shadow of a doubt that she has powerful hands, but it just looks like now she's turning that page of almost 40 years old, and I don't want to say it shows, as we just props Glover, that it's not showing, but for her, it's definitely showing against these younger matchups.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think her time is probably over.
Yeah. Again, it's hard for me to disagree on that too. I think she's had an amazing career boxing, and obviously being the very first person to finish Ronda the way that she did. Ronda was, let's not forget, that era of domination from Ronda was like a solid 7 years where no one could beat her, and like this girl literally walked in and was like, pretty much had one fight before she took that one and was like, hey, we're going to give you to Ronda. And she's like, well, I can beat her. And when you fucking know it, finished her in probably one of the most spectacular knockouts of all time. I think it'll go down in the history of UFC as probably maybe the top 5 biggest upsets of all time. I mean, no one in the world had Holly Holm winning that fight. And that includes a ton of people, but you know this, and everybody that was with us that night in Saskatoon knows it. Your boy won a lot of money on that fight. So I was very excited that Holly Holm won that fight. I just saw the plus minus odds on that one, and I was like, I have to. There's just something about it that says I have to do it. And Ronda was due, man. Ronda was arrogant, cocky, if you will, and just on top of the world. No one could touch her shit, right? Her shit don't stink. And Holly Holm came in there with this like fuck it attitude, and you could just tell right off the soon as Bruce was done with the intros, you're like, oh shit, she's for real. And then that leg kick, obviously, and just man. But nonetheless, I mean, I agree with you, Cole. I think this is the end for Holly Holm. I just, everybody in that division keeps getting better, and she just looks lacklusterish. Just doesn't have the appeal. And she used to be a draw, and now she's lost some questionable fights. I mean, you go back to even the 145 division when they started this whole thing, it was for her and Cyborg essentially to be the people that were like the face of 145, right? Because Invicta had been doing it for so long, and the UFC only had 125 and 135. So it was like, hey, what do we do with this? And man, honestly, she's a pioneer of the sport. And I do wish her well and whatever. I'm sure she's probably going to get one more fight. I heard people wanting her to face Miesha Tate in her last fight. And I'm just like, yeah, for a fan's perspective of an interesting on their way out fighters, I mean, yeah, you could probably give us that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they fought before, right? Miesha beat her for the title, right? That was
for the title, UFC 200.
Right. So yeah, I mean I think that's a good match, give Holm a chance to get that win back, and then yeah, I like that, I think.
I don't hate the matchup. Loser leaves UFC type deal. I mean, it's weird to say, but
they can both leave.
Yeah, I mean, I was all aboard the Miesha train when she was coming back. I was on it beforehand too. I always wanted her to beat Ronda. And again, nothing against Ronda. I just was tired of the arrogance, I guess, is watching the fighter. But it's one of those things. You can talk shit and back it up, then why not do it, right? And she continued to make that matchup. And their Ultimate Fighter run was fucking cringe, but it was hilarious all at the same time. But yeah, so Caitlyn Vieira moves on. She's going to be a top 10 fighter for a while, man, in that division. So congratulations to her. She looks sharp too at times. Again, I thought Holm was the busier fighter. I thought she should have deserved the win, if anything. So moving on, because that was a terrible fight. Speaking of people who dominate all the damn time, Chris Cyborg absolutely beat the brakes off of a young Miss Blencow, and it wasn't even close to Bellator 279. There's just something about Chris Cyborg. After meeting her, I understand it now. When she was at Palace Athena's, I really got the chance to, talk to her. Most athletes won't give you the time of day. They'll be like, hey, thanks for coming. Here's a signature. See you later. I got to pick her brain for, 5-10 minutes. And it was just like, I understand who she is now. She's just a beast. She approaches life the same way. She is just this go forth, go at it. And there's no reason of a doubt why she is a 4-time champion in 4 different divisions and 4 different leagues. It's just insane. She's a Grand Slam champion. I don't know if there's ever going to be another Grand Slam champion, because the closest we could have had was Megan Anderson, and it seems like she's well on her way to retirement and doing commentary now, which, hey, I get it. She's an attractive girl. She's probably going to do really, really well on the networks. Don't blame her being 26 years old, not having to take a beating anymore. So nonetheless, Chris Cyborg beats Blencow, and it wasn't decisive. Here's my question. What's next for Cyborg? Do you want her to go fight Katie Taylor?
I mean, I think someone should fight Katie Taylor, but I mean, I feel like that's up to Katie Taylor, she needs, I think she needs to, it's not like Cyborg needs to prove herself. It's not like Amanda Nunes needs to prove herself. And it's not like Katie Taylor needs to prove herself. So I don't know what she's doing, but she needs to make a move and fight some real competition, I think. I feel like no matter what Cyborg does now, she's built a legacy. She's one of the best forever, no matter where. Katie Taylor or not. So I really feel like it's up to Katie Taylor,
Yeah, and I agree. Obviously, we just saw her beat Amanda Serrano, and that was the other matchup I kind of thought maybe if Chris Cyborg wanted to get into the boxing game, that would be the route to go instead of going right to Katie Taylor. But I think Katie Taylor is the appeal, the matchup, the aura, right? Like Katie's this undefeated boxer now, and if she faces Chris Cyborg, who brings this legendary MMA background into it, I think it just has a ton of appeal. And don't get me wrong, you and I will both watch that, and we both know it'll be a very good fight. Cyborg's cardio's through the roof. People are sleeping on how well her cardio is, especially at her age, and how long she's been doing this.
So were they talking about doing a boxing match then?
Correct.
Oh, really? That's wild.
Yeah, Cyborg's camps on social media were saying that, hey, maybe Katie Taylor's next after this Blencow fight. And I was like, you're overseeing your opponent at the moment. And I was like, I kind of like it. But I think Cyborg, if you want to look at her resume of wins, it's knockout, TKO, finish. It's hands. She's never had submissions. It's just like finish. So if she is going to go into a sport that makes sense, boxing is that sport. She has elusive footwork. If you watch her in the octagon, she has amazing technical footwork. And I think that's why so many girls get so flustered and frustrated with fighting a Chris Cyborg, is because she angles you down. She takes a boxing approach into the cage. So, I mean, if she does want to fight Katie Taylor in boxing, which I think is going to be amazing if it does happen, I'm not going to count out Chris Cyborg on finishing that fight. She has got crazy power still, especially, like I said, for how many fights she's been in, through the wars that she's been in already in her career and her life. Like, give me that fight. Put it in my veins. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I thought you were suggesting Katie Taylor was coming over to MMA. But no, that's wild. This is the first time I'm hearing that, and that's I'd watch that for sure. I know, because a while back Cyborg went and fought the #1 kickboxer, and did decent. Like she lost, but it was like a good fight. that I can't remember what her name was, but she was like 41-0 or something, or
I actually talked to her about it, and she said it's a different world. She said
right.
kickboxing is so different because, again, she is a heavy-handed woman. So to be able to throw the leg kicks at elusive timing, she told me it's like you almost have to time your hands and your feet to go at the same time. Like if you're throwing a kick and a punch, it's almost at the exact same time. It's like she did so much training for it, and she lost, obviously, but I mean, no slight. You faced the number one in the world. Good job. Like 41-0 is pretty damn impressive. So the fact that she wants to, perhaps enter a boxing ring, if there's anybody that steps over and transitions quite well, I think it would be Chris Cyborg, and I think that's male and or female.
Yeah.
And I just everybody's talking about. We talked about it too on the last pod about Francis Ngannou maybe fighting, fighting Mr. Fury. I just don't see it working out for Ngannou because he's too stiff. He's just, I watched some fights, and after we watched or had the podcast, I rewatched some of his stuff, and I was like, I don't know. Yeah, he's got heavy hands, but like that might last 3 rounds. Like Fury can do this for 12. Like that's what he's built for. It's crazy at 300 pounds that he can still do that. It's nuts. But I mean, realistically, yeah, I think Cyborg, out of all of the women in MMA and all the males in MMA that go over and transition that maybe want to do boxing, I think she has probably the best opportunity to succeed.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
She's just that freaking good. Now, getting into boxing this weekend, you were sleeping if you didn't watch this fight. Woo-hoo! Javonte Davis versus Rolly Romero. Man, I was so stoked on this fight. I listened back to our old podcast. I can't believe I forgot to even mention this was even coming up because there's so many announcements that have been going like just super fast. And honestly, this fight was unbelievable. These guys don't like each other. Straight up dogs. They just didn't like each other to begin with. And if you watched the weigh-in, it was pretty exciting. You got to see Rolly Romero and Davis right up close. And then Davis was just kind of standing there, and Romero went to go push him and then like kind of slipped off the stage. And I was like, what the hell? He's going to get hurt before this fight even happens. And I've been looking forward to this whole damn thing. And then, boy, Javonte Davis, say what you will. What a knockout, man.
Yeah, it was perfect. It was like he was kind of throwing the same thing throughout the fight, and Tank just timed it perfectly. And just like he was dead, he's like he didn't know where he was. He was walking, he got to his locker room, he still didn't know where he was. He got rocked. That was he could barely stand up, and like it was what a clean punch. And it sucks because, man, he was talking a lot.
Holy shit, did Rolly Romero talk a ton. And it was just like he thought it was going to work against a guy who has the caliber of Javonte Davis. And I'm like, yo, Tank's a different breed, man. Like, he's a completely different guy than anybody that you've faced before. Like, his footwork, dude, let's talk about that because, Jesus, man, the way he was landing, it's just like he suckered Rolly in. And I don't know if Rolly was running off of complete, like, I don't know if it was just like he was running off his own ego and thought maybe he was better and he was starting to trip a little bit in the ring. But damn, dude, Davis's footwork.
Yeah, and even you could tell because after he landed that left hand, how he exited so cleanly. Like he had an escape plan. Like if it didn't land, he would have been gone. Like you could just tell he's just on another level. So it was good to see. And even this weekend, Haney's fighting Gambosos, and it's gonna be nuts. There's a lot of stuff happening in boxing right now too, and it's exciting.
Man, and I know that we talk primarily MMA, but I'm so glad that we've brought you into this world, and it's got me back heavily involved in the boxing, and I'm just literally, some of our notes upcoming are all about the things that I got going on. So boxing has made a forefront. It's made a run. I mean, I don't want to say it was irrelevant for a few years, but it didn't have the star appeal it does now with so many good quality boxers, man. There's just so many products coming out. And I mean, for Rolly Romero, he's going to have to live his life as a fucking walking meme now. So him falling through the ropes is one of the coldest photos that probably could have ever been taken. If you haven't seen it yet, it's a cold photo. Go check it out. So yeah, that right there was the weeks that were. here's a little, we're going to get into it. It's in the news aspect of things. We like to touch base about what's kind of going on in the world of mixed martial arts. And of course, a little pro wrestling in here this week, which is kind of fun. Anthony Joshua taking on Alexander Yousick. It's a couple of weeks away. I'm looking forward to this, but you're fairly familiar with how training camps work, right? Well, Mr. Anthony Joshua brought in Mr. Garcia to be his boxing hand coach. What do you think of that move, bringing in a veteran like that who has obviously worked with the likes of every major superstar there is in boxing?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know what to think about Joshua.
I'm so lost on him.
He's clearly talented. He's clearly like a smart boxer. And I think he just doesn't care sometimes. So
yeah,
like he's kind of like a pretty boy. He made a bunch of money. He doesn't have like the grind and the grit that Fury and Wilder have. So it's like it's tough to say what's gonna happen. He might come out with a whole new game plan like he did last time he lost and just take and just win the whole fight. But he just got, it was such a one-sided fight that it's hard to say what's going to happen.
Well, Alexander Yousick has really, really impressed me as of late. He's just been a complete, almost like a complete transition. Like he's turned around so much. If you watch his early fights as compared to where he is now, he's just a way different fighter. I think he's technically a little bit better than Anthony Joshua. Joshua confuses me. I understand why bringing Garcia in is huge for him, because I just think the one thing that he's been lacking is that knockout punch that he had earlier on in his career. Kind of fluffs guys now. I mean, he makes contact, but it's not as strong as it used to be. So I think this might help him out, but I still think Yousick takes this fight. Maybe call me crazy. I'm definitely, I know that I was looking at betting odds and people still have Anthony Joshua as a favorite. I get he's the appeal, he's the name, but Yousick's, I think he's a better boxer.
I think so too. Even just like his movement, how he fights is hard to handle.
Yeah.
Whereas Joshua is more of like traditional, I guess, easier to figure out.
Yeah, no, for sure. I look forward to that fight. I think it's like 3 weeks time.
Yeah.
Something relatively really close. Obviously, we're going to recap that. It's going to be awesome. As you see, Conor McGregor cannot stay out of headlines. So, of course, we're going to keep him in there. Man, honestly, him and Masvidal have been going back and forth on Twitter and on basically socials for essentially the last week. So, I am telling you right now, you hear it here. This is the Boomtown guarantee. Both of these guys are going to fight by the end of 2022. It'll be McGregor versus Masvidal. It'll draw probably the December card. And I only say that now because they always go out with a bang in December, and it won't even have to be a title fight. They'll just put them as the main event because there's going to be so much trash talking. But anyways, today, Jorge Masvidal called him a little boy and that he wanted to break his face. And McGregor said, "You're a stupid peanut." And I thought that was the greatest line of all time. The clapback, "You're a stupid peanut." But anyways, he said that you're just imitating me. You're taking my style. It is beyond infuriating. Grow up. I'm better than you. So with that being said, hey, I'm going to throw this out there. Do you see this? And I put our guarantee on it. I think this fight happens. Both guys, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, I think McGregor's at a point where he's just making money now.
Oh, dude, he's printing money.
Yeah, so I think that's the only thing that's going to draw him to a fight is big money.
Yeah.
So like, why go in there and lose, any more star power, taking these hard fights when you can get, not that Masvidal is not going to be a hard fight, but it's going to be a hell of a lot easier fight than some of those top guys that he could be fighting, So, go in there, get a paycheck. I'm for it.
No, I'm all about it too, man. Honestly, I think that realistically, when I look at this matchup, Conor, both guys are obviously on a losing streak, but they got to stay relevant somehow. And I understand it. I agree. After he sold the shares to Proper 12, he's just been He's literally a walking printing symbol for money. That's all he is. And for Jorge, I mean, he's had some weird shit go on in the last little while too, with, of course, the legal stuff outside of the ring, the fighting Kobe Covington stuff and all that nonsense. So, I mean, for Masvidal, the fact that he's actually calling out a fighter and not being I don't want to say a coward or a pussy about it, but like, hey, at least he's calling out McGregor. McGregor said, hey, name the place, time. Like, I know this fight's going to happen. And this fight, again, you want to talk about printing money. That's all this fight's going to be, is just a money printer. And Dana White's probably like, I know Dana denied that he's going to let this fight or these fights happen, but 1,000%, you just know that it's going to happen. And both guys will probably make the lump sum of quite a few million.
Yeah, and it's funny because I just seen an article that said that McGregor's no longer the highest paid athlete. I think it was like LeBron or somebody passed him anyways, for this year. But I mean, like, that whoever passed him worked half the year.
Yeah.
Like McGregor's still like third or something or second, and he hasn't worked since his last, like, he hasn't done anything. So the fact that he's still number 2 or 3 highest paid athlete and he hasn't done anything, he hasn't fought I mean, that's pretty impressive.
It's nuts. It's honestly nuts. Like, there's nothing that guy doesn't do that doesn't sell, right? I mean, that's just who he is. You know what's really, really cool is seeing people transition through different aspects of their career. Now, Paige Van Zandt last night made her AEW debut, All Elite Wrestling debut. And honestly, man, I watched some of the clips. I think she's going to do all right. I think she found her niche. She can be that attractive girl who goes in there, doesn't really have to fight, right? I mean, she goes in there, sells some things. She was okay. Honestly, they put her on a pay-per-view to start everything off. And I was like, that seems really big, because most people that would never really, like, haven't really been there, done it. You know what I mean? They haven't really taken to the ropes. She fit in really, really well. I thought she did great against Tay Conti, and maybe that's just something that Conti did really well. But do you see more people transitioning from that world into wrestling?
I don't know about more, but there's always gonna be that happening, just because it's like there's a lot of people that have, like, whether it's looks or personality or good on the mic or whatever it is, that they can go make a quick couple million without getting punched in the face.
Yeah.
So true. Money always talks, I think. So I can't see it not happening all the time, especially if you're on a bit of a losing streak, it's like,
and she was right. Like, she had lost 3 MMA fights, and then she went to bare knuckle and lost that fight. So it was like, what are you going to do for us now? Where's the paycheck coming from? My husband just lost a huge title fight. Like, obviously All Elite Wrestling is paying well, because there's tons of ex-WWE superstars that are jumping over there now, and they're just making hand over fist. I mean, they're doing well. They've got TBS behind them, paying them a ton of money. So, I mean, hey, I get it. The right person's going to make the right call. Like I've always said, Conor McGregor is probably about 5 years away from being a WWE superstar. I mean, we saw Tyson Fury in the WWE. And people forget that. I mean, Cain Velasquez was in the WWE as well with Rey Mysterio. I mean, it didn't last long, but he was there. Also, set Cain Velasquez free. That's all I'm going to say.
Also, did you see the meme of Rolly in the ropes and Rey Mysterio 619ing him? That's awesome.
That was unbelievable. Yeah. And of course, the other thing that's making a ton of news and noise right now in the UFC is UFC London. They were just there in March. It was explosive. This card is bananas that's taking place, and it's an ESPN card, which is going to be amazing. Some of these matchups are insane. Paul Craig versus Volkan Ozdemir. Like, feed me that fight. Paul Craig has been on this roll, man. People keep sleeping on him. Like, I mean, it started with Jamal Hill when they gave him, and they're like, oh, Jamal Hill, this undefeated rookie that, we have really high hopes on. just got beat by a Scottishman, and he did it again in his last fight. So they keep feeding them to him. Volkan Ozdemir has been up and down pretty consistently most of his career. So I think this is a make it or break it fight for Volkan. But if Paul wins this, man, I honestly think he's going to be in the top 5 conversation very, very soon.
Yeah, and I think he's gonna win.
Yeah.
Ozdemir, man, I don't know, he's super inconsistent.
Yeah.
He's never been able to really pull it off. So, man, Craig's got a lot of hype right now, and he's tough, and I like watching him a lot.
Yeah,
I hope he wins.
He's got really good hands, but his ground game is elite, man. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
The other interesting matchup at 205 on this card is going to be Alexander Gustafsson making his return versus Nikita Krylov. And honestly, Krylov's, I think, a threat. Gustafsson's not exactly the name anymore, but always puts on an interesting fight.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that one's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of I don't know. For Gustafsson, ever since the whole Jones fight, it seems like the aura of what was Alexander Gustafsson is now kind of gone. And then he made his debut at heavyweight, and it was just awful. He looked slow. He definitely did not look like he was a 205er, and it just wasn't his niche. So I like the matchup against Nikita. I think Nikita's a really good fighter, has really crisp hands. Some of his ground game is pretty underrated as well for 205. If somebody wants to go check that out, definitely YouTube some of his stuff. It's very, very good. I'm going to roll with Gustafsson. I think he needs this fight at 205. I think he needs this win big time for his career to just kind of not stay relevant, because I think he's always going to be relevant, but just keep his name in the tabloids, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he's pretty similar to Holm, you know? Like, I think he's on the way out. I don't think, even if he pulls this one off, let's say he has another 3 fights. I have a feeling he's not going to be winning all 3 of them. He's gonna win 1, lose 1, win 1, maybe win 2. He just hasn't, like you said, he hasn't looked great.
Yeah, no.
It's like I feel like he's very emotional too, because even in some of those fights, like he's like retiring, like putting out a weird announcement and then like not actually retiring, and then like
it comes back right after,
getting emotional about losses. And so I think up here isn't strong. He's a good fighter, but I feel like his mind isn't strong anymore. I think it was, but yeah, I don't think he's the same guy.
Yeah, I think he's just a broken down old warhorse that went through some, really, really hard fights early in his career. And now it's like, yeah, I know I took a lot of punishment, but maybe I'll come back. Maybe I'll retire. Who's going to tell me no? Like, the UFC loves me. I have a good relationship with Dana White. Like, who's going to say no if I want to come back? Like I said, he experimented in the heavyweight division. That did not work out the way he wanted it to. And so they moved him back down to 205, which is the right weight for Alexander Gustafsson. But the other interesting couple names on there, we got Paddy Bimblet. Paddy the Baddy is going to be back on that court against Jordan Levitt, who's a much better competitor than the people that Paddy has faced so far. The thing with Paddy, though, people like Jordan Levitt's got some hands and can throw. The thing with Paddy is he gets fucking rocked like in the first round, and you're like, oh shit, hype train derailed, right? And you're like on the verge of calling it. And then he just comes back and just beats the shit out of you and it's just so quick how much he turns it around. Now, you train a ton. Is that something just to do with cardio? Is that something with the weight cut? Because he does do a significant amount of weight cut. Like, what do you think it is with him?
I mean, some people are just like that, some people are just like need to get hit to wake up. It's like, that's kind of how like Chris Lieben was sometimes, until he was bleeding, he was just kind of a punching bag, and then he'd start bleeding. Then all of a sudden he's like this unstoppable tank, and it's probably not a great thing, because eventually someone's going to land one that puts him out, but yeah, I mean, some people just start slow, and sometimes it's very frustrating to, because it's like it's a habit that is hard to break once it's there, and
Right.
it's not like Patty's like, he's young, but he has fights. He's been fighting, so like he's got to break that, I think, and just like get going, or else he's gonna be like, like Cerrone, same thing. He sometimes doesn't start till the second round, and by then it's too late, and right now, like the competition Patty's fighting isn't very high, so uh what's he gonna do when he fights somebody who has knockout power? He doesn't. You're not gonna want to take any of those.
Well,
So
especially as he continues to grow at 155. I mean, you're going to be facing Michael Chandler, Justin Gaethje. Like, these guys will fucking kill you, dude. Like, you leave your chin exposed to those guys, it's over. Like, I
yeah,
mean, it is like over for you. So I understand Patty Bimblet, obviously a younger kid, still coming up. He's going to have a ton of time. He's a cash printing machine, just like McGregor is. He's good for the sport that way too. Like you said, he said the other day, he's like, I don't fight because they pay me well. He said I fight because I get fucking paid everywhere else. And I mean,
hmm
I get it. He's a money printing symbol. Of course, the two main events that are going to be on that card, you got Jack Hermansen going to be taking on Darren Till. Darren Till finally making his return to the octagon after quite some time off. I couldn't believe it. His last fight was actually in 2020. He was supposed to have a couple matchups. He got hurt along the way. Switched camps. He's now training with Kamzat, which is awesome. They're like two best friends, which is hilarious because I never thought that would be like what I need in my life is Kamzat and him together, but it's pretty awesome. Yeah, I still think Jack Hermansen's the better fighter in this. And that's not to take away from Darren Till. We haven't seen him in 2 years, so I really don't know what he's got in that chamber. But I feel with him training with Kamzat, obviously he's going to be working on his lackluster ground game. I think that's probably what's going to help him out a ton. But Hermansen is a wrestler, and he's very strong, and I think will probably win this fight via decision.
yeah, I agree. I think uh, yeah, I think the key to Till has been, he's not that much of a puzzle anymore. Um, it seems like he's easily overpowered. If you can get a hold of him and get him down, it doesn't seem that difficult to keep him there. So it sucks because I actually like Till a lot.
I do too.
And I like watching it when people like stand up with him, and then it's a bit of a fight because he's super creative and does some unique stuff, and I like watching that. But he can't stay off the ground, so that sucks.
Yeah, I really hope this whole training camp with him and Kamzat. Obviously, Kamzat's a crazy wrestler, so you know that
Right.
they must have put in some serious rounds. I mean, Till was in his corner, and it was kind of funny, like during his last fight, because Till was giving him some advice, be like, "Hey, don't step into that. Hey, maybe shoot here." And I was like, the guy who can't wrestle is telling him to shoot? What?
Yeah.
So maybe there is some stuff that he has been picking up and learning. Like, it's always interesting to hear what corner guys say because, these guys, most of them are still, fighting for different organizations. You see it all the time where guys are fighting in the UFC that train guys over in Bellator or vice versa, right? It happens all the time. But yeah, interesting matchup. I'm going to roll with Hermansen. I just think Hermansen's probably going to be a challenge for him. And I think Hermansen's pissed off that last fight where he definitely won it and went to decision. He lost it. So I'm going to take him. I like Till. I'm with you. Like, at least Darren Till puts on exciting fights every time he's in there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, our headlining fight, the number 4th ranked heavyweight in the world, Curtis Blaydes, taking on the number 6 or number 5 ranked. I got to check. I know I have mixed rankings on Tom Espinal, but man, banger. It's going to be a fun one. Espinal is obviously coming off his most recent win in Manchester. He was in England. He won his main event fight, which was awesome. He was a killer in that one. I thought he looked really, really good. But yo, man, Curtis Blaydes, there's just something about this guy that, like, as much as people want to hate Curtis Blaydes, he's the complete package when it comes to being a heavyweight fighter. He can take you down. His wrestling is absolutely insane. His hands are loaded, and people sleep on how good his kickboxing is too. So do you think this is going to be a good matchup for Tom Espinal, who is primarily a striker?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's. I want Aspinall to win. But man, yeah, Blades is good, and he's just like he doesn't care. Like he doesn't care about looking like he doesn't care about killing people. He doesn't care. Like he's there to win, so he doesn't care. He'll grind you. He'll hold you for 3 rounds. He'll make it a boring fight. He doesn't care. So the boos don't get to him. So for me, I mean, like I'm not, I don't really like seeing that. And I think he's fought Ngannou twice. You could tell he didn't fight like himself, so he's clearly intimidated by Ngannou, and that's kind of like, it seems like his kryptonite. So I mean, let's give somebody else. I want to see Espinal win, and then get another face in there, I think.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Aspinall would be cool to be like the factor that he's so marketable overseas. And I think that's something that the UFC needs in the heavyweight division, is just an overseas kind of guy. And
Right.
and I mean, there isn't really huge names that pop off the charts anymore when it comes to overseas. Most of the guys are, like the Derek Lewis's. The Tai Tuivasas of the world, obviously out in like Melbourne, which would be a huge card for him if he could ever get back on one of those cards. But doesn't seem like it's happening all that much. But yeah, no, that's kind of the look of the news. Now we're going to get into part 2 of the show, which is called Into the Future. It is sponsored by Sandman Boxing System out in Saskatoon. Of course, Saskatoon's premier boxing academy. We were talking about it earlier. It's been bananas for them. They're just doing so many cool things. Just so in case anybody missed it, what's the giveaway that you guys are doing, and how can people enter, bro?
Yeah, I guess we're doing a custom rug giveaway by Coolest Rugs, a good friend of mine here in the city. He designs rugs. You give him a logo and he'll design it. He does logos. He'll do sports teams. He does really anything. Does it by hand. So he's gonna design a rug for the winner of the draw. We got 50 spots, but we only have 3 spots left. So
Damn.
it's closing soon. I'm sure by tonight or tomorrow, we're gonna be doing the draw. So if you want a custom rug, go check them out. Coolest Rugs. It's wild. Super talented guy.
We also put it on our social, so you can check it out on there on Facebook if you want to see some of the product that he's done. It's unreal. Cobus Boxing got one, and it looks so good. Nonetheless, so this is section 2. Part 2, let's get into it. We'll be quick on this one. We're creeping on that hour. We're the best hour in MMA. That's our thing. Okay? All right, so UFC 275, you got Glover Teixeira taking on Yuri Prochazka, who is a force to be reckoned with. But also, Glover can't be stopped. This is a crazy matchup. I mean, Glover has faced guys like Yuri, but there's nobody like Yuri. And we have been saying this for a long time. Good luck trying to emulate Prochazka style, because you just can't. There's nobody on the planet Earth that fights like this guy. When he knocked out Dominic Reyes, I was like, oh my dear God, Dominic's dead. Like, I literally was like, the Family Guy moment. He's like, you kids want to see a dead body? That's exactly what happened in that situation. So Yuri's the favorite in this fight at -190. Of course, this is for the title. Glover is the plus money. So if you want to win some money betting on Glover, I mean, probably everybody has at this point in the last 6 years. Why not continue to run with it at 155? I am rolling with Yuri Prochazka because there's nobody in this division that matches up with him.
Boo.
Hates the
Glover,
pick.
man. Glover's going to prove everyone wrong again. He's the man. Unless it's John Jones, Glover's winning every time. He's the man. I got to go Glover. His game plan, his style, is just like, I think it's the perfect style to win that fight. Cover up, take those shots, get in, take them down, grind them out. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't. I'm really split, because again, I'm giving Glover a ton of love at the start of the show, and I still am a huge Glover fan. There is no denying it. Everything that Yuri Prochazka has shown me tells me he can counter anybody. He's fought wrestlers, he's fought boxers, he's beat them all, and like Dom Reyes is a pretty complete fighter. I mean, he's got solid hands. I don't know what happened in maybe the John Jones fight where he thought he won, and I think most of the world thought he won. It just seems like Dom lost that killer instinct. But when Yuri went in there and hit him with that spinning back elbow, I was like, oh my God. And it's just so quick with Yuri. He doesn't waste any time. But the thing is, we haven't seen Yuri fight a 5-fight round. We haven't seen Yuri get dragged to the ground and be dominated yet. And Glover does that really, really well, where he just puts all 205 pounds down on you. And you just, I mean, he probably is 220 when he gets in the ring. Let's not kid ourselves. But I mean, he is a complete package. You know what, man? Honestly, it's a pick 'em for me. I do like Yuri. I just like his offense. If it goes to the ground, Glover's probably your guy. But for plus money purposes, how can you go wrong with betting on Glover at plus 155, right?
And I think like the one thing that Yuri's going to be, I'm interested to see how much spinning stuff he does.
Oh yes, he loves throwing it.
Right, but like that's an easy takedown.
At least 4 times around. You can get that.
So it'll be interesting. I'm excited for this one. It's going to be a good fight.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a super interesting fight. UFC 275, obviously the one we're going to be talking about the most. Valentina Shevchenko is going to be taking on Taila Santos. This is a fucking wipe, not even close. And that's no discredit to Taila Santos, who's 19-1. That's a very, very, very good record. I think this is Shevchenko's best competition that she's going to face in this division. I think it's time to move up. It's fucking done with. 125 is your division. You have murdered it. There is nothing left for Valentina Shevchenko. It is a pile of bones in that division now that she has literally cleaned out that entire division. It's just minus 800. I'm rolling with Valentina. I don't see her losing, oh goodness, in the foreseeable future in a long time.
Yeah, 100%. I'm Shevchenko. She's the best. And like clearly the best. You know, like she's on another level. She makes everybody look terrible. She's insane. So yeah, I agree.
The intriguing matchup to me, and hear me out. I know a lot of people are like, well, Thug Rose just lost. I want to see Thug Rose at 125 versus Shevchenko at 125. Fuck, I'd see it at 135 if they wanted to meet up in that division. I'm cool with that. I think that's a hell of a matchup. And I don't know if Thug wants to go down to 125. I'm sure that's not the easiest of weight cuts when she's been fighting consistently at 135. But fuck, throw me that. Give her something at 125. You know, you just lost the title at 135. Why not move down? Fuck it.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? You know, and see if you can win the 125 strap. But if Mr. Pat Barry's in your corner, you might not win that 125 belt. Boy, that was some awful coaching on his part. But nonetheless, Valentina Shevchenko is who I'm rolling with. I think it's pretty. If you want to win some money, hey, Taila Santos at plus 500. You put $100 on that. You know, you're getting 500 back. So that's not a bad call if you're looking at it that perspective. But Shevchenko's just fucking untouchable. Also on UFC 275, this one's gonna be a fucking banger. This is a pick 'em fight for me because I have no goddamn idea how this is gonna go. We're either gonna get old Joanna Jacek or we're gonna get shitty Joanna Jacek. I have no idea. She's obviously taking on Weili Zhang, and the same thing can be said with Zhang. Zhang just looked like she lost that precision that made her the champion. She was so good and so fast and so quick, and then she faced Thug, and it was just like none of that existed anymore. And Thug did it to her twice. So now it's like a rebound fight for both these girls who both lost to Thug twice. It's a Thug Rose killing tour, you know, like for these girls, especially Weili Zhang, I think there's more for her to gain than Joanna. Joanna she's kind of a money fight girl now, you know, like she just kind of takes the fights that are going to produce income for her. And as you can tell by the betting odds at minus 180, Zhang being the favorite and Joanna being the underdog. I mean, how do you see this going, dude? If it's Joanna of old, I think she has no problems with this fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just an exciting fight, you know. If they can,
this is my favorite fight on the card.
Yeah, if they're gonna throw down again, and kind of replicate that first time, you know, like minus the Quasimodo look at the end, like I'll watch that every day. Like that's so you know, like that fight was nuts. So
yeah,
it's really hard to. I have no idea who's gonna win this. I'm excited to watch though.
I think that's why that you see the betting line so small as compared to the other ones. I mean, Yuri at minus 190 and Glover at 155. I mean, the thing with Weili Zhang is that Joanna can get really I don't want to say like a pissed off teenager when she boxes a little bit, but she throws hands that are not needed. And Wiley's pretty good at usually circling off those kind of, rapid punches and stuff like that. I mean, she did a really good job against Thug. Thug just threw a nasty kick on that second fight and fucked her up, right? Like, I mean, and I thought Wiley was winning that fight until that whole thing happened. So I think bettors and odds makers got this one right. I think Zhang does enough to win this. And if she does, she probably gets Thug again, which I know where everybody's like, why another matchup? It's just at 135, there's not a whole lot of women anymore. Like there's just, it's kind of a lock jam. Every girl seems to be, after Nunes lost or, and moved up to 145 and all this other stuff. There's just so much in the women's division where these girls are like, well, we'll go at 125. We could move to 135. We could go to 145. It's so congested now. And there's like 10 good girls, but they could all fight in each of these divisions, right? Like, tell me I'm wrong. Like Juliana Pena could fight at 145 tomorrow. And then she could wake up and fight at 135. Same with Nunes. Same with Shevchenko if she really wanted to. So could Joanna. I mean, Joanna's been a consistent 125 her whole life. But, I mean, she probably could put up the weight and do okay out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if she won and then she got matched with Esparza and then won. And then it'd be like the UFC circle of life,
No shit, man. Full circle. And you know what, man? It could be. After Esparza won that fight, I'm like, are we seeing like just a shift of like, am I watching like, when you play UFC, right? And you're like, you're a champion and then you lose your belt and you got to go back and do these things again where you fought these guys already. This is kind of what it's reminding me of. Like we're in a fucking video game with the women's division at 125. And honestly, like I don't know. Whoever wins this fight, obviously, I think gets Thug Rose or gets a title shot. It's more than likely if it's Joanna and she wins, she gets a title shot. And that's nothing against Zhang. It's just the money would be with her fighting Thug again, especially with Thug coming off the loss, right? So speaking of that, giveaway time. Thug Rose t-shirt time. Now, we had a bunch of entrants, and everybody got it wrong except for 2 people. Incredible. I have never seen that before in competitions. Most people ran with either Justin Gaethje because of the weight cut with Oliveira, obviously, and everybody else ran the opposite side and went with Charles Oliveira. Well, there's 2 people that could guess it correctly. We had him on the podcast. Longtime listener Justin was one of those guys that guessed correctly on 2 fights, and the other person, Laura Crothers. How about that for being 2 different people on totally opposite sides of life? But anyways, nonetheless, you'll see here, I've got a little name generator. One says Laura, one says Justin. I'm going to hit the button here. We're tapping to spin it. Where it goes, nobody knows. I'm not sure where there we go. As you can see, I got to move it over. Congratulations, Laura. You are the winner of a Thug Rose t-shirt. We'll be hitting you up. I'm sure your son will know where you are. We'll get the address sent off, and we'll get all
Congrats, mama.
And thank you for the support. I mean, Mom's always been behind us 1,000%. It's been so cool. She always shares our stuff, always commenting, always staying tuned to it, which is awesome. And thank you guys. We had over, over the 3 platforms, Instagram, Twitter, and over on Facebook, we had over 75 people enter the competition. So that tells you 2 people guessed correctly out of 75, which is nuts, man. I think the majority of us, and we even on the cards so far for the year, Boomtown is 19 for 25 on cards. That's pretty strong. Those are pretty good predictions. We have gotten a couple of them wrong. That last card, we went 2 and 3. Not proud of that. But I mean, I honestly thought Justin Gaethje was going to do it because of the weight, man. And then Charles Oliveira shuts me up again. And I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm never betting against Charles Oliveira again. He will continue to be the number 1 as long as I live. And then, of course, we got Michael Chandler, right? Who is just, dude, Michael Chandler, the most exciting guy in the UFC. Right now, there is not one dude who puts on banger after banger after banger like he has so far and made a huge impact. Like, let's not forget, he went from Bellator, who I'm not saying has a weaker division because they do have some great opponents in that division, but he went over to the UFC to say, I'm going to mess with the best guys. And like, holy shit, man. It's just like every fight is scintillating. Like that knockout was crazy. He almost got knocked out again.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that was nuts.
Oh, dude.
And it was good to see the old Ferguson back too.
Yes, thank you. And we
Yeah.
talked about it. I said, are we going to get old Tony? We got old Tony.
Yeah.
Old Tony ain't go. If he fights like that again, old Tony ain't going nowhere. He could be
Yeah.
back. Who knows? But like Michael Chandler in his era right now is just such a different fighter, different breed, man. He can wrestle too. And the crazy thing is we haven't seen him do it. Like, it's just nuts that he's this NCAA wrestler and we've never seen him wrestle. It's just been go out, bang. And that's what he said to Tony. He said, I want to do that with Tony Ferguson. He said it at the weigh-ins. He said it at the press conference. All I want to do is stand up, bang it out with this guy, have highlight of the night fight. And that's exactly what happened. Man, good God. The only thing that we got wrong on that headlining card that really pissed me off, obviously Thug Rose losing the title. Sorry to Mama that she's going to win a Thug Rose losing t-shirt. It does say women's champion. Nonetheless, we will make sure you get that shirt, which is pretty awesome. And then, of course, this is really, really cool. I reached out to her. She is obviously on her way to doing amazing things. Sweet Maria Yousick. She was part of the Palace Athena Women's Fighting Championship 1 card. I got to meet her in her camp. They're all out in BC. They're awesome people. Tashida MMA. They are great folks. She actually just signed with Invicta. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, can we do a t-shirt giveaway? She reached out right away. Was like, hey, what do you want to do? You betcha. It's a really cool t-shirt. If you haven't seen it, look on our socials. A lot of the money that goes from that too actually helps her camps, which is cool as well. So you're kind of helping the fighter out. But yeah, she gave us a t-shirt and the winner of that was actually posted on our socials. Terry Bezick was the winner on that one. So congratulations. We had over 150 entries on that one. So we had almost 230 people reach out to us on all of our platforms when it comes to giveaways. And hey, listen, we're going to do another one probably during, I think, International Fight Week will be when I do the next one. Because we have 3 fight cards in 3 days. So I'll probably do 3 different prizes for each one of those cards. And I'm sure we got some sweet stuff coming down the pipe. I know Cole said that he has a t-shirt that we're going to do as a giveaway as well. So I think we'll probably do that with this 275 card. We'll think of something to give away a Sandman boxing t-shirt. I just got mine. I should have put it on when I was doing this. What a fire t-shirt, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my wife designed it, so it's pretty. Yeah, it's cool. It's like pretty unique, you know. And we only made a limited amount, so it's pretty wild. And I thought we would make one more for you know, out of 75 entries and only 2 got it right. That's nuts. So I feel like Justin deserves one, you know. A runner-up t-shirt, so I'll get him one.
I like the way you think. Justin's going to be happy to hear that, man. That was it was honestly like we've done a ton of contests on this in the last 2 years. We've done hats, we've done, you know, actually I think you were like the first winner of a hat through Stellar Gear, which was really, really cool. Yeah, way back when we first started this whole thing up. We've done t-shirts, we've done UFC walkout t-shirts, we've done everything that you can probably think of. So getting a little homegrown style to it too is awesome. And knowing that, like, you know, who the creator of the shirt is, the story behind it, like, it's such a cool concept, dude. And yeah, definitely go follow. I was going to follow up with this. You can find us on our socials, of course, on the bottom, as you see there. Not the SASPod network, not anymore. It's nothing bad. It was a mutual split, just in case anybody was wondering. It's okay. We are no longer with them. So we're just moving on from that. But yeah, you can follow me, of course, at the Boomtown Pod. You can follow us all of our socials, man. If you're watching the broadcast, you see our signouts over here. You can follow us on both of those things, pretty much on every aspect of social media there is. Like I said to you, with the Boomtown, we are literally up to date with announcements. As soon as they come in, we're literally posting them for you guys to comment on, talk about. And hey, reach out to us. If you want some discussion topics, if you want us to talk about something, hey, if you have a fighter that you think is on the rise and you want us to talk about it, we'll showcase it, man. That's what it's about. We're all about you guys, man. That's why we do these giveaways. It's why we promote the shit out of what we do, man. And we're just a small little company, right? We're just a small little fish in a real big pond. And we're just trying to make an impact, man. And it's been a lot of fun so far in the last 2 years. So we continue to build off of that. But yeah, you can follow us on all of our socials. And with Cole, hey, man, take it away, dude.
Yeah, you can follow me anywhere as well. You know, Instagram, I guess not anywhere. Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok. I'm on it. So check me out. You know, I post a lot about like upcoming events, where we're gonna be. You know, now that COVID's kind of we're kind of past that. You know, Boxing Sask has opened back up, so we're putting on lots of events. We just had a show here in Saskatoon. We got one in Regina on the 10th. We're in PA on the 4th. So we got some stuff happening in Saskatchewan finally, so we don't have to go to Alberta as often. But there's a big one on the 10th in Regina, and it's gonna be cool. I feel like the guy putting it on, it's pretty much Regina versus Western Canada. So it's kind of a cool concept. There's going to be belts. There's going to be championship fights. It's going to be big out in Regina on the 10th. So that's a Friday. Yeah, check it out. Check me out. Justin, give me a shout and I'll get you a shirt.
And just
yes.
For record, Boomtown Pod will be in Regina on the 10th. We will be taking so we will be live. I'll be doing some footage shot for us for there. Hopefully I can get a couple interviews with a couple of fighters. It'd be great to have that on there as well.
That'd be
as
awesome,
we grow.
yeah.
We continue to transition to combat sports. I know for a long time it was strictly just MMA, but now we are really reaching out to a different audience, and Cole brings that perspective for us. So we've been so happy to have him as part of the show, man, and we continue to blossom that way. And I can't wait to, I've gotten to meet quite a few of the fighters over at your guys' gym and Alliance, especially with Sandman Boxing System, getting to meet so many great people with so many different stories and why they do it. And I look forward to meeting a ton of them. And like I said, we're going to have some great content for you guys on here. I can't wait for that whole card to go down. That concept just sounds so crazy to me. I'm pumped. But that's going to be the show, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. This is the Boomtown Pod, your home for all things MMA. We will catch you guys in a couple weeks' time. Of course, usually about 2 weeks. I promise it won't be 3 this time around, so that we don't have the weeks that were. It'll just be the weeks that was. Okay? All right. Nonetheless, cheers, guys, and thanks for tuning in once again.